Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for September the 30th, 2020. Shout out to everybody watching this live, and if you're watching on demand, thank you as well. Let's go ahead and get started with this recap as we get closer to the 1 year anniversary special for AEW Dynamite, and we also have Full Gear, the next AEW pay-per-view. We had an announcement regarding the pay-per-view. I will get to that here in a few minutes. This week's show was taped last week after the Wednesday Night Dynamite, I believe on Friday, because Thursday there was a Jacksonville Jaguars game and AEW stars were in attendance for that. Thus, for this show, being taped and all, there were no fans, just the wrestlers in the front row. We had our first match, which was Ricky Starks versus Darby Allin, and there was a little vignette before the match with apparently Darby in a body bag sliding down this skateboard ramp because he's crazy. Darby had a pretty hot start. He suplexed Starks on the apron, which according to Taz was one of the hardest parts of the ring. Usually they say it's the hardest part. Then we had Brian Cage show up at ringside. Will Hobbs ran down, attacked Cage. However, the distraction was enough to give Starks the upper hand. It was a back and forth match between the two of them. And then Starks hit a mid-air spear for a near fall on Allin. However, Allin made a comeback, hit the coffin drop to pick up the 1-2-3. Nice match to kick off the show. President Trump. Wow, President Trump coming in with a $5 super chat says, "You only have 11 people watching. When I do a no DQ live, I have 35 to 40,000 people watching. No one cares, Aaron. No one cares." Sad, I know. But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. And TJS with a $2 super chat says, "Did you hear that Serpentico is David Arquette?" No, I did not hear that, TJS. Maybe it is David Arquette. Maybe that'll be a big reveal on a future episode of Dynamite. We'll talk more about Serpentico in a few minutes here, though. We had Cody Rhodes, who made his return last week, come out to the ring for an interview. Basically, the interview was about would he accept Brody Lee's challenge to a dog collar match. But Cody went on a bit of a long-winded rant, I guess, talking about how you shake hands not for respect, but because you need the other person. He talked about how he got a phone call from a 323 area code, aka Hollywood, and he was busy with an opportunity. And he talked about how people were asking, who is he? Is he some guy that got beat in 3 minutes? He finally got to the question, which is, would he accept the challenge? He said no. He walked off, and then he came back and said, "Psych, just kidding." Actually, he didn't say it that way, but he said no as in no regrets. He accepts the challenge. Brody Lee came down to the ring. Big pull-apart brawl, only there were no fans to say, "Let them fight, let them fight." Brandy ran down. She did a dive onto members of the Dark Order. Anna Jay came in. They fought for a while. Lee came back into the ring after they had been separated. The fight continued, and then he left, and then he came back for a third time. Segment was okay. I think Cody did not need to cut as long of a promo as he did. He could have just said, "I was banged up, then I got a movie role, and I accept the challenge," but they had to do the long-winded thing. And then the pull-apart brawl, it's been done too much in wrestling, and to me, AEW doesn't get a pass for it because it's a different company. It's right up there with the contract signings. I just think they're so cliche. Not really a fan of them. So I think all of this could have been done better personally. We had Tony Schiavone talking to FTR backstage, and they talked about how they have to beat SCU because SCU, they were the first AEW Tag Team Champions. Then they talked about the Young Bucks, saying that the Young Bucks blew every opportunity they had to become the champions. But apparently since Meltzer, and they actually said Meltzer gives them all the stars, then that makes them eligible for a championship opportunity. All of a sudden, we had Matt Jackson show up and super kick Tony Schiavone, continuing the Young Bucks heel turn, I suppose. JR was very disgusted by this, although not the best acting performance from JR. It's not like old school JR where he would be outraged over something. He was kind of like, oh, I'm so disgusted over this. But it was like kind of like a subpar reaction from JR. Could have been better. SCU were interviewed and they talked about how FTR are playing checkers while they are playing chess. I believe I heard that line in a wrestling promo not too long ago. They walked to the ring, and as they were going to the ring, they walked past Shawn Spears. I guess that's going to be some kind of storyline. President Trump. Caleb Jacobs, I guess, is popping big time right now because President Trump is here in the chat room. He left a $5 super chat. He says, I do not know Tony Schiavone. I never met him. I just know he's not very bright. People have told me that even people who don't like me at all. Well, there you go. If President Trump says it's true, it must be true. Caleb Jacobs, he says, I love it. He's so happy that President Trump is here in the No DQ chat. All right, so we had SCU versus FTR with Adam Page on commentary. Wheeler was a little bit sneaky in the early goings. He pretended that Chris Daniels tripped him as he was running the ropes, and the referee believed him because, well, he's an honest man. Cash Wheeler is the prime example of honesty. Christopher Daniels was sent to the back because the referee took Wheeler's word for it. And you had the heels work over Scorpio for a while. Kaz got the hot tag, and it was back and forth at this point. SCU had a couple shining moments. They hit stereo double cutters, and they got a near fall. Scorpio got some more near falls, but then all of a sudden, Tully Blanchard grabbed Wheeler's arms to prevent him from being pinned. Wheeler then rolled to the apron, and then Scorpio Sky attempted to suplex Wheeler back into the ring. And this was the WrestleMania 5 finish from Ultimate Warrior versus Ravishing Rick Rude. You had Bobby Heenan at ringside for that, and Bobby Heenan would grab Warrior's foot, and Rude would fall on top of Warrior. Heenan would grab the foot. Same exact finish here. And I actually liked this. I liked the homage to WrestleMania 5. Tully grabbing the foot of Scorpio Sky. Scorpio gets tripped up, and Wheeler scores the pinfall victory. I really liked the finish. Pretty entertaining match here between these guys. Went about 12, 13 minutes, something like that. Remember, this was a 20-minute time limit match. Brushed with greatness. Good match here between these guys. President Trump with a $5 super chat. President Trump once again. Are we going to get VP Biden sending super chats? That's what I want to know. He says, because I'm here, your ratings just went through the roof. When I'm no longer doing this, your ratings will drop dramatically. Well, please stay here, President Trump, and I'm hopeful maybe VP Biden will show up and send some super chats. Noah Foster is like, ugh, politics. Yep. It was announced that at Full Gear there will be a match, a final match of a tournament. There's going to be a tournament over the next several weeks with the winner getting a championship opportunity for the AEW World title. And 3 of the participants were announced. We had Jungle Boy, Phoenix, and Kenny Omega announced for that tournament. Interesting. Kenny Omega in this tournament for a possible future World Championship opportunity. We had Chris Jericho versus not Orange Cassidy, but Isaiah Cassidy. Jericho just going through the Cassidys. Jericho pie-faced him repeatedly, and this was Isaiah's first singles match in AEW. I'll take their word for it. They announced that this was his first singles match. Cassidy attacked Jericho when Jericho turned his back, and Cassidy got a quick near fall on Jericho early in the match. Later, Jericho got thrown over the barricade, and he landed on Luther. Jericho and Luther have a history going back to the 90s, and they started fighting at ringside. Meanwhile, Cassidy did a dive over the top onto the members of Inner Circle on the outside. Cassidy used Jericho's code breaker for a near fall, but then he went to the top, jumped off, and Jericho caught him with the Judas effect to score the 1-2-3. After the match, the Inner Circle beat down Cassidy. Matt Hardy came in with a steel chair, and everybody took off. But then Jericho went after Luther again, and Serpentico was there, who is teaming up with Luther to help out matters. And it was announced next week that Jericho and Jake Hager, for the Jericho Anniversary Show, they will team up against Luther and Serpentico. Mike B with a $3 super chat says, Raw Underground is more entertaining than politics. How about Ricochet more entertaining than politics? How about Retribution more entertaining than politics? But that's WWE. We're talking about AEW here. So Dark Order more entertaining than politics. How about that? We had a vignette with Miro and Kip Sabian. Basically, they're setting up this bachelor party for Sabian's wedding. And Miro needed some help because there's a pandemic right now and he needs to come up with something. And there was this guy in a suit that approached him and I guess has an idea for a bachelor party. This guy is named Billy Mitchell. I had no idea who he was before this segment. I looked him up. He's a video game player and apparently a controversial one at that. All right, we have VP Biden. VP Biden with a $5 super chat says, I am no DQ now. You know, the thing, the wrestling, the thing. Dark Order is an idea, not a group. Jeez, that's quite the accurate text there from VP Biden. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. And Noah says this was odd planning and gaming. Yeah, I'm not feeling what AEW was doing with Miro up to this point. The match last week was disappointing, and now this and this random video game guy being involved. I get it, Rusev or Miro is a gamer, and he probably had this idea, but not really feeling it. I want to see Miro come out and destroy people. I want to see him built up as something special. And the problem with this segment is he just comes off like another dude. We had FTR backstage confronting the Best Friends. And the Best Friends pretended to throw punches at FTR, but FTR cowered away. And OC called them a couple of weenies. I guess this is a catchphrase now. Like, if we had fans, I'm sure they would be chanting weenies, but yeah, I'm not sure about this one. Anyways, we had Orange Cassidy versus 10 from the Dark Order. Yes, 10. Basically, in this match, you had the Dark Order mocking Orange Cassidy. 10 stole the glasses, and 10 put Orange Cassidy's hands in his own pockets, and they mocked the best friend's hug. But in the end, Orange Cassidy, as Noah Foster put it, a simple day of work, picked up the win. I just don't care about the Dark Order, so didn't really do much for me. Backstage, we had MJF come into Chris Jericho's locker room, and Curtis Butler says quite a random match between Orange Cassidy and 10. Hamp Connell says, okay, I'm done playing Trump and Biden now, on to the review. Well, there you go. That was Hamp Connell then, who was up to some shenanigans. At least he's taken responsibility for it. TJS with a $2 super chat says, when are you watching the South Park special? Tomorrow, TJS. I was tempted to watch it tonight, but too much. I already watched the first episode of Wentworth, which I highly recommend if you guys have not seen Wentworth. It's on Netflix, women's prison show. Great stuff. The 8th season is now available on Netflix, and I'm definitely looking forward to that South Park episode. I'll check that out tomorrow, and I'll have to get back to you on that, TJS, with my thoughts. Back to wrestling. MJF came into the locker room with Wardlow. They went into Jericho's locker room, the Inner Circle's locker room. He had some gifts for Jericho, a bunch of jackets, but not one for Sammy Guevara. And Sammy was pissed off. Jericho wanted to know what the hell MJF was doing there. Does he want to join the Inner Circle? MJF asked, well, do you want me to join the Inner Circle? And they went back and forth with this for a couple of seconds here. And then you had Jake Hager and Wardlow step in. Things were getting a bit tense, but then they calmed down. MJF and Wardlow took their leave. And that's when Sammy Guevara said, what a loser. And Jericho responded by stopping him and saying, maybe not. I thought this was the best part of the show. Like last week, I thought the Jericho and MJF segment was the most entertaining thing. And once again, this was my favorite thing about Dynamite. Jericho and MJF, I'm digging this storyline. Noah Foster says MJF is literally 2020 Jericho reincarnation. Only difference is Jericho had the numbers. Jericho versus MJF at Full Gear, calling it now. I'm down for it. I'm all for it. Baker making her first in-ring appearance in action since she got injured. She did do the match at All Out, which was not an actual match in the ring. So really her first proper match since coming back from injury against an enhancement talent, Red Velvet. Decent enhancement match here. Britt Baker looked good. JR had a funny line talking about how usually wrestling dentists are ugly. Of course, that's a reference to Isaac Yankem, DDS, who later went on to become Kane, of course. Britt Baker used a Seth Rollins-like stomp to pick up the victory, and as Curtis Butler points out, she carved up Red Velvet. And after the match, Britt Baker put on the lockjaw for good measure. Nice stuff here to build up Britt Baker. Tim Heidenberg with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Tim. He says, who gets the title shot first, Nyla Rose or the Doctor? Also, would you like to see Sheeta versus Rose in a steel cage? Well, thank you for that super chat, Tim. I would like to see Britt Baker win the title from Sheeta. I said this from the beginning of AEW. I think Britt Baker has the look and the star power and the presence to be the face of the women's division. And you got to bring in some more people to feud with her. But I think you got to go with Britt and push her as the champion. You've had Riho and you've had Sheeta, you had Nyla Rose, and none of them, to me, have really made a big impact. Sheeta's probably had the biggest of the three, and she's had some pretty good matches. But I think as far as a character goes, I think Britt Baker has the strongest character of any of the female stars in AEW at this time. And maybe if you get Thunder Rosa in full time, I'm not sure what her deal is with AEW and NWA, but I'd love to see Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker have a feud for the title. Noah Foster says he agrees. And Curtis Butler says Brit ... sports entertainment. We had our main event segment, which was Jon Moxley against an opponent of Eddie Kingston's choosing. Kingston cut this promo, and he talked about how he did not tap out last week. He was frustrated at the referee. He wanted to know why the referee called for the bell, even though he did not tap out. The referee brought up their history, their friends going back many years on the indies, and he said even though they're friends in real life, in the ring, it's business, and he was just trying to do his job and protect Kingston from himself. Bad thing to say there from the referee. Basically, you're asking to get a butt kicking. And sure enough, Kingston was getting ready to do just that when Moxley's music hit. Moxley came into the ring, and Kingston's crew went to the outside. However, there was one guy missing from the equation, and that was the Butcher. The Butcher walked down to the ring. Moxley had his back turned to the entranceway, which I was thinking he better see this coming. If he gets blindsided, I'm going to be pissed off. And sure enough, Kingston announces Butcher as the opponent. Moxley turns around and gets clotheslined. Stupid babyface. I thought only WWE did this. Like, come on, man. Moxley's a veteran. He should know better. Why would you turn your back to the entranceway, not knowing who your opponent is? I was not a fan of that at all. Anyways, we had this match here in the main event. Butcher in the main event, which I've seen some mixed feelings about on social media. Some people happy Butcher's getting the opportunity. Some people saying, who is this guy? Why is he in the main event? Why should I care? So I've seen some different opinions on it. Butcher had a pretty good showing here. Moxley was selling his knee during the match, but then Moxley managed to send Butcher into the barricade on the outside. Moxley then got him back in the ring, hit a pile driver, which Butcher did kick out of, and then Moxley did his bulldog choke, which led to the Butcher tapping out. So Butcher tapped out. Eddie Kingston did not tap out, but the Butcher did tap out. And Eddie Kingston was very pissed off about this. And that was the end of Dynamite. Next week's show, Chris Jericho's 30th anniversary special. I mentioned the tag team match. That's going to be on next week's show. And we still don't know for sure what's going on with Lance Archer. He's scheduled to face Moxley in 2 weeks for the AEW 1-year anniversary of Dynamite special. That was it for Dynamite, everybody. Okay show. I was not blown away by it, to be totally honest with you guys. It was just average, which by AEW standards, it's a good show. But it did not blow me away. There was nothing on this show that I think was must-see, like you have to go out of your way to see. It was a good show for AEW standards. It was fine. Hab Connor with a $2 super chat says, what's up with Zack Ryder being a free agent? Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, I think he just wants to keep his options open, and it sounds like he wants to work the indies and do some other things and just not be tied down to any company right now. He could come in with AEW really at any time that he wants. But I think he wants to play the field and be able to do a lot of different things. It was a 5-match deal which ended at All Out, and yeah, I think there's a decent chance we'll see him again at some point. Noah Foster says, interesting show tonight, some wild moments and pretty good matches. Yeah, the matches were good. It was a good wrestling show. Did not do a whole lot to advance storylines, and more or less it was a build towards the next couple shows. And they started to build up stuff for Full Gear, but we still have over a month to go before that pay-per-view. Show was all right. I mean, I would give it a B-, maybe a C+, somewhere in that range. And NXT, not much that stood out to me either. I did have it on, but I'm not really going to go into much discussion about it. The only real noteworthy thing on this show was Dexter Lumis is back. He was in a backstage segment with Cameron Grimes, and that's good. I'm glad we got Dexter back because I feel like with Karrion Kross injured and Keith Lee on the main roster, like, where are the heavyweights? Dexter Lumis is back now, and I say start pushing this guy to the top, and then when Karrion Kross comes back, you can do Dexter versus Karrion. That should be a pretty cool feud in NXT sometime down the line once we get Karrion Kross back. We will be doing predictions for NXT TakeOver 31. I'm a little let down they're not calling it Halloween Havoc. Like, they did the Great American Bash, they did In Your House. Like, really, it's October. Let's do Halloween Havoc. I think they need something. Like, it just, man, I'm not sold on this card. Like, I know it's going to be good, but hype-wise, like, to me, this is like the least hyped up NXT TakeOver of all time. Like, it just doesn't feel like a big deal. But they can definitely deliver, I'm sure, in the ring on Sunday. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow night. For those of you watching this on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, NXT TakeOver 31 predictions with a no DQ panel. And by the way, regarding AEW Dynamite, Israel Diaz gives it a C, Kev gives it a C+, Curtis Butler gives it a B, Noah Foster with a B-. So, yeah, no A grades it looks like, but it was a fine show. It was fine. Austin Smith was with a C, CC Drink with a C, and Bruce Marvel says B, the doctor is back. There you go. That's all I got for tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate your viewership and support. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Take care, everybody. Be safe and stay positive.